it's 2020 and we expect a lot of shit, but I don't know if we expected Trump to out left the left or out democratize or populize or however you want to call it. But he is going to their left. I mean, in this, if you're talking about a left-right paradigm, he is, because he's the one that is saying, you know what? It took Trump to say no, $600 isn't enough. It's going to be $2,000. And also, I'm going to veto the colossal $740 billion defense bill, breaking with the Republican Senate. I mean, this is unprecedented, and people were making memes all day. It was hilarious. But this really says a lot. Now, people, the neoliberals were trying to twist it and saying, well, Trump held the people hostage. No. Who held people hostage were these Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, who literally, they had the opportunity to pass something much higher. Trump had already said, here, I'll sign it, but they didn't want to give him the win. And here we are. And they also were tying all of this pork and all of this NDAA directly to the COVID aid. So they were trying to catch Trump in a catch-22. Like, this isn't about defending Trump, and I have to say that because people are gonna take it as me defending Trump. But the reality is, this is what's going on right here. It is a shame that it took Donald Trump to do what the progressives should have been doing. The fact that this is what they do, the Republican Party is at least effective in taking over and pushing these sort of coups. We saw what happened with Boehner. We've seen this before, time and time again. And the progressives are just too scared to oppose it. Oh, no, we got to wait for the right time. Oh, no, we have to wait. No, this is what needed to happen.
Yeah. And not for nothing, fam. Trump said, and this was before the election, he was like, pass a standalone bill. He said the words, pass the standalone bill with direct money and assistance to the people, and I'll sign it. And Nancy was like, it will never happen. Mitch McConnell, and we feed them, and Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell, he said, listen, Mnuchin was already talking to Mitch McConnell. He goes, I'll get it passed. You send me a standalone bill, we'll get it passed. We'll get it through the Republican Senate. Because they're not going to sit there and turn around and say, we're not going to give direct assistance to their workers and their constituents. Nancy Pelosi didn't put that up. She refused to do it because she didn't want to give Trump a victory. She actually played with our own real lives.
So this is what Trump said, right? Because Pelosi retweeted this video, and she said, all of a sudden, she's, hero Pelosi. Republicans repeatedly refused to say what amount the president wanted for direct checks. At last, the president has agreed to $2,000. Democrats are ready to bring this to the floor this week by unanimous consent. Let's do it. So now they're over here with their PR stunt pretending that they were for this all along. Because they weren't. They were ready to pass the $600. This is why only 2 Democrats voted against it, because they were afraid that they were going to get backlash. So let's not cut the bullshit, Nancy. Let's not pretend that this was your idea all along, that you were waiting. No, let's hear what Mr. Trump, some of what he has to say. It's a 4-minute video. I'll cut you off at like 2.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation
in
an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda.
They were ready to pass the $600. This is why only 2 Democrats voted against it. Pasta, your computer's on. They were afraid that they were going to get backlash.
I know, I'm sorry.
Let's not.
And influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment. $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan. $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business. $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000, or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Well, aside from the China thing, right? He was spot on. I mean, it's insane to me that he was just going over all these numbers. And here's the thing, people who may not like Trump are going to see this, who may not even be political, and be like, yeah, this guy's right. Especially when we're talking about small businesses. Democrats have paid zero attention to the small business owners, the small business class that has been screwed by this pandemic through no fault of their own, through also no fault of China, Trump. But it's something that, you know, we know living in LA, that this is a huge deal. And him actually pointing it out, that these businesses are getting nothing and special interests and all these foreign countries are getting everything, is actually makes him look like a more populist, more anti-establishment candidate. We know he's not necessarily that, but the fact that he's saying this at this time makes the Democrats look really, really bad.
Yeah. Well, he is more anti-establishment and more populist than Joe Biden. I will say that, than the establishment. The people that they put in. We've gone backwards. It's not that we're big Trump people over here by any means, but I mean, putting in somebody back in like Joe Biden, for crying out loud, it's like Hillary Clinton 2.0. But fam, I don't know. I think maybe we should count the amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico right now. Maybe that is important right now. I mean, but again, 1 amberjack, 2 amberjack, 3 amberjack. You know, and of course do the China thing too as well, because once again, it's not the fact that he's mentioning China and whatever role they played. This is once again our people within arm's length doing this to us. This isn't about foreign country. These are about our elected and I'm putting this air quotes, elected officials, because I don't even believe they're elected, but the officials, the lawmakers here at home that are pulling this on us. And yes, Donald Trump does look like more of a populist than these assholes right now. How dare them run out a 5,565-page bill on a cart, wheeled out with hours to go just before you voted. And nobody looks for time or says anything. They actually go and vote it. It reminds me when Nancy Pelosi did say with I think it was with the ACA, well, we got to get it passed to see what's in it. Hello?
Yeah, and just real quick, Nancy Pelosi also said something about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. She said it's been passed on a bipartisan, bicameral basis. The president's veto of the NDAA is an act of recklessness that harms our troops, endangers our security, and undermines the will of Congress. Okay, so reducing the military budget or wanting to saying that troops. This is way too much going into the military and not enough for the people is harming our troops by what? Keeping them home, by keeping them alive, endangering our security by not getting us into more quagmires. I mean, it's very easy. All they're doing is making it look like Trump is a more sane one here, and they're doing that to themselves. And even Lindsey Graham. I cannot stand Lindsey Graham. I think Lindsey Graham is one of the most horrible people. But Steve Poikonen posted this too on Twitter. The CEO of hashtag Scoop Gang Slow News Day. Lindsey Graham is a lot of things. Subtle has never been one of them. Just like they tied illegal streaming and the care and feeding of the Capitol building grounds to COVID, John McCain's ashtray here wants to slip in killing Section 230. Let's go big, he says. So he was talking about 230. But we're over here, what Lindsey Graham says is important. Appreciate the fact that Speaker Pelosi supports President Donald Trump's idea to increase the direct payments to $2,000 per person. The American people are hurting and deserve relief. I know there is much bipartisan support for this idea. Let's go further. And then he continues to say, I hope Speaker Pelosi will agree with President Trump that big tech needs to be reined in by winding down Section 230's liability protections. I have reason to believe this combination will lead to President Trump supporting the NDAA and COVID-19 omnibus bills. So there's that on there. And do you have something to say on that, or are you good?
Well, we know that. I mean, you know damn well that they're not going to agree on going into big tech and handling 230 whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on them right now to do so, but I mean, we know that. And Lindsey Graham's all over the place. He's an establishment hawk. I don't trust this guy at all.
No.
He was boasting about the money that was going to Afghanistan and Pakistan, and I'm saying, it's like, how stupid do you guys look that you're going over there and you're giving money to Jordan, right? All this millions of dollars to Jordan, and you're bragging about it. And what they want to do is build border security. They want to build like a wall, a fence to protect their border over there. And yet you're going to say, let's send the money over there, but you're going to deny the conservatives that want protection on their borders over here and call them racist. This is your Democratic Party for you and your establishment and these rhinos and everybody working together. They make zero sense. They're not even consistent, and they really do think people are dumb. Really, to tell you the truth, right now is a time we have to prove them right or prove them wrong. This is enough from these establishment freaking people. And like I said, the biggest way we could fix this was to fix our elections, but we can't even get that shit straight, fam.
No. And so this is something important I want to point out, right? Because Nancy Pelosi's talking about Republicans refusing and fine, let's do it. And then Rashida's like, I'm ready. But there's something that we need to point out here. And Marie Fonseca points it out really well, because Nancy Pelosi is allowing, or Rashida Tlaib and everybody is allowing Nancy Pelosi, right, to use this unanimous consent, right? You know that this makes the 2,000 dead on arrival. Why aren't you calling for a simple majority vote? Unanimous consent obviously means that you need everybody, right? And they're allowing Nancy Pelosi to do this, to say it has to be unanimous. No, they need to demand a simple majority vote, because otherwise it's not going to pass. So otherwise, if they have a unanimous vote, it is virtue signal. None of the 2,000 that we get is going to or that we might get is going to happen. A majority vote, just with the majority of people in favor, will ensure that. But a unanimous vote pretty much ensures that it's dead on arrival. So that's something that nobody's really talking about that is extremely important. Like, we're all like, oh, yeah. No, like if she gets away with passing it as a unanimous vote, then it's done. And this is why I urge people to call them, to do whatever it is that you think you can be doing. There's a couple events going on in DC in a few days that I'm going to mention at the end of the show. But this is an opportunity to take it to the next level, not just calling people, not just writing them letters. This is going to take a little bit more pressure than that. They need to understand the rage of the public and how people are feeling and what they're going through in order for them to do anything. People are ready. They're talking about all these things. And if they get a 600, I mean, Jonny and I were listening to the radio, and even the Latino people who, normally were, some of them weren't, it was like a Latino show with music, and it was just, it had nothing to do with politics. People were angry about the $600. They're like, what am I going to do with $600? Like, this is ridiculous. And it's like, you don't have to be a politico, an intellectual, or some sort of genius to figure out that $600 is an insult. It's awful. And people are realizing this now. Everything is unveiling.
It's stupid too, because really it has Biden's fingerprints all over it. You know what I'm saying? He's a deficit hawk, and he's just like Clinton and Obama, where they'll cut food stamps or unemployment benefits and make sure that all their people get their money up at top, but yet the people down below will get cut. I mean, that's what they do. And there was a lot of talk that McConnell and Biden did some work together on this behind the scenes. And that's why you got a unanimous consent vote coming up right now, because they don't want us to get that extra the money and stuff like that. They got to hand out their money to the corporations and their friends in the military industrial complex and get a piece. But at the same time, make sure that you down below get it cut. I mean, this really does have Biden's fingerprints all over it. Remember when Biden said be easy on McConnell and stuff like that? It stinks to high heaven. That's why this was even, Donald Trump said even in the first bill that had a lot of pork, he was willing to spend $1.8 trillion. This is $900 billion, right? Or it gets cut down or whatever the case may be. It just, like I said, it stinks to high heaven. And you got to understand it, ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic Party is not your friend. They don't give a shit about you. Look what they're doing to you right now. All across the world, people that were forced to stay home or do whatever, in every single other country, didn't lose their health care, and they got a check for staying home. Millions of people have now lost their health care in the middle of a pandemic. The progressives refuse to force these neoliberals to put their vote on the floor for Medicare for all. They refuse to force them to put a rent relief bill on the floor. And when they come up with a stimulus, they give you $600. I mean, what an insult! What a kick in the teeth! How can we not just start marching on these people's houses? It's time, fam. Vegan, but let's eat the friggin' rich already.
And this is where the corruption is all around, right? Because Niko pointed out right here in his tweet, I didn't know we were still pretending it's only been Mitch McConnell holding up stimulus checks for Americans. Last I checked, multiple Democrats introduced multiple UBI bills in a Dem-nominated House that Pelosi refused to take for a floor vote. Again, this keeps happening over and over and over again. Stop pretending these parties are somehow different. They're not different, and we still have people pretending that these parties are different. And then, of course, we have Sarcasm Stardust, who said, in the past 36 hours, the squat, no pun intended or pun very intended, has been outlefted by Sarah Palin and Donald Trump. It's kind of hilarious. Of course, referring to Sarah Palin being outspoken in favor of Julian Assange and wanting and advocating for pardoning Julian Assange. And Sarah Palin is somebody that I made fun of so much when she ran. I mean, it was hilarious. But
you saw her, right, fam?
Yeah.
She said, I was wrong. She said, I was wrong. What politician says that? And we need to really start supporting a person like Julian Assange, who's brought us real journalism, and get rid of these fools with all this fake news. I mean, I know she wanted to take a little jab at the fake news people, but she was 100% on. I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I said, my outlook today is beautiful. And once again, like I said, my way of looking at this, and I love Misty and everything she's got to say, but I think I don't say out lefting anymore, because the left in America is not the true left. You've said it before. They're just the Fugazi left. It's the populist idea. He's out populisming everybody.
There's
right
no word
now.
for
and
it.
It's just like, I know that he's being more of a populist than the whole Democratic crew and the squad included. Only Rashida Tlaib and Tulsi Gabbard. And Rashida, once again, she goes right back to blaming the Republicans, playing the same game. Here comes the Kabuki theater.
Right.
So that is that.
Right, and we know it wasn't just the Republicans. I mean, I'm still going to say out left because it is a leftist position to help people out, like as you always say, right? But it is also a populist position because the vast majority of Americans want more than $600. The vast majority of Americans want Medicare for all. The vast majority of Americans want us to stay the hell out of every other country. And yet we have representation that doesn't represent us. It's for a specific reason. One, we don't have democratic elections. Two, we have a corrupt system where we're not getting represented. And again, people still think like these tactics or this rage and this anger is too much. And they're so focused on the rhetoric. Oh, Jimmy Dore's rhetoric. Oh, your rhetoric or whatever. It's like, well, what do you want? I mean, this is the nicest thing we can do right now is try to even work with these people. I'm done working with them, to be frank. Like there's no point. And Peter Dow said, pathetic. Biden and Pelosi were perfectly fine with a $600 insult check. Pelosi called it significant. Biden reportedly worked behind the scenes to reduce the amount. Biden worked behind the scenes to reduce the amount from $600. What are you going to reduce it to? And then Trump outflanked them, right? And then they turn around, of course, and they're chasing him and making him look like the people's champion. I mean, this is bad, right? This is just, it's like they're doing this PR control. And you can see right here, buried in pandemic aid bill, billions to soothe the richest. The bill includes provisions, good, bad, and just plain strange. And Biden was not an idle bystander in the negotiations. On the contrary, the paper of record tells us that the president-elect played a decisive role in making sure the legislation was cut in half. And then you can see Pelosi saying that $600 is a significant amount for working families. Let's hear Pelosi say, let them have $600.
We also have in the legislation direct payments, which were not in the Republican bill, to America's working families. I would like them been bigger, but they are significant, and they will be going out soon. We also have in the legislation
they're significant, Pasta. Can you pay half the rent with $600? Can you pay a third of the rent? A fourth? It's like a fourth of the rent. Not even $600.
It's just beyond disgusting. I don't know. And you know what, fam? It's just really disheartening too when you go back on. I dipped on Facebook today. I know I shouldn't, the home of the neo-progressives, just to take a look at it. And you see those same people putting out the rhetoric that they're blaming the right. Like it was the Republicans' fault. Right. Oh, it's the Republicans' fault. The Republicans' fault. Like, no, Nancy Pelosi is the gatekeeper of progressive policy. She controls the House. She can put whatever she wants up for a vote. She chooses. She chooses not to put up those. Well, her minion. She's a minion of the overlords. They won't let her put these bills up for a vote. And you know, this is Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Ilhan Omar. If you're really serious about policy, about the things you ran on, stop pointing the finger at the Republicans, point it at your own party, force a vote, whether it be Medicare for all, a standalone bill. I mean, and also, too, we have to start getting with this. I think people have to become wise to the fact that we have to stop with the pork. We quit eating animals a long time to become vegans. We have to be politically vegan. We have to stop with the pork. We have to stop. It's not right to have a bill that has 6,000 pages wheeled on into Congress, so many freaking holes that a lobbyist can drive a truck through, and you're going to sit there and you're going to put it up for a vote? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, and we need to stop. We also have to be very aware of those things, fam. I think people have to start calling for standalone bills so the public can understand. Remember, they're public servants. They're supposed to make things easier for you and for the people to understand. A 5-page standalone bill is a lot easier for the public to grasp than a 5,595-page bill.
Yeah, and let's not pretend, because I saw, I went on Facebook too, unfortunately, and there was a lot of crickets regarding AOC voting for this vote. And on top of that, it was, as soon as Rashida put out her push, AOC, look how she's doing. Oh, see, this is why we don't cancel and blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, hold her fucking accountable. You guys haven't said a word about the fact that she voted for this. She didn't have to. Oh, but I understand why what else did you expect her to do? It's like, no, because if anybody else had voted, if somebody that you didn't like, let's say it was Tulsi Gabbard, or let's say it was Kamala Harris, or somebody that you really didn't like, voted for this, you would have gone after them. But because you like her, you're still not going after her. All these people that were complaining about Jimmy Dore and the anger and all of this are completely silent when it comes to this. Oh, yes, we're going to push this $2,000 UBI, even though it might be performance theater if we don't get Nancy Pelosi to take out the majority, or not the majority, the full, the complete vote, right? And to make it a majority. And it's like, oh, it's okay now because it's convenient. No, this is the same type of thing. You got to push for what you got to push. And that's the hypocrisy that I'm seeing on a lot of them. It's like, oh, we're going to be extremely silent when it comes to AOC. So
no, you know what the great answer was today? We got on Twitter. So ladies and gentlemen, AOC voted for this bill after she said she wouldn't, and said she voted against the CARES Act, and she's on the yays and stuff. Yeah, but Tulsi passed a anti-trans bill. What's wrong with you?
Right.
Like, hello, what the hell has that got to do with anything?
What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Stop
straw manning
and stuff.
Stop straw manning.
But that just shows the power that the woman has brought, the Congresswoman, on the way out. And once again, we don't have to agree with every single bill. There's nuance behind these bills, but we're talking about if you want to talk about leftists, somebody out lefting you in the Democratic Party, man, oh man. I mean, it's just disgusting where they're at, and it's stupid. We have to concentrate on all things. We have to start concentrating on the way policy is made, the way elections are run, all these things. We have to look at them systemically across the board like we do at other issues, and we really need to fix them. This is disgusting right here. $600. I don't understand I know how they keep power, fam. They fix their elections, but totally disgusting right now. It's not a good day. And to see the president say, let's give them $2,000, and to see the president veto the defense bill. And they're going to go after him?
Right.
He's being more anti-war than the Democrats.
Well, but we were, I hope these people swallow their words and understand that Biden was definitely not the lesser of evils, by the way.